All right, diving right in today, folks. We're looking at a plea for help coming out of Baltimore, specifically Station East. We got these letters written by a resident, Nicholas Miles, sent straight to Governor Wes Moore's desk. And let me tell you, this ain't no leaky faucet situation.
Right, this goes deeper. We're talking the whole package, how homes are built, how those public dollars get used, and frankly, whether the system's working as intended.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, when you hear about those revitalization projects. Sounds good on paper, but
Oh,
then,
the execution. That's where things get messy.
yeah.
And that's what makes these letters so interesting. It's Nicholas, one guy trying to use his voice to, like, hold these big players accountable.
Okay, so paint the picture for us. Who is Nicholas Miles? What is Station East? What's the deal with this neighborhood?
So Nicholas, he's a resident of Station East. It's a neighborhood in Baltimore they've been, trying to revitalize. He moved into his place back in December 2017. And from what he's saying, it's been a bumpy ride since day one.
Bumpy how? Like, what's he dealing with specifically?
Leaky rooms, for starters. Flooding, you name it. The letters mention get this, a $470,000 estimate to fix up just 5 homes.
470,000. Dang, that's more than I paid for my first car, house, everything combined. That's wild. So what's the root of the problem? Are we talking just old houses, or is there something fishier going on?
Well, that's the thing. Nicholas isn't just blaming, like, old pipes. He's pointing fingers at this group, the Historic East Baltimore Community Action Coalition, HEBCK for short, and this for-profit they set up, Eager Street Development, or ESD 28 LLC.
QSE2T228. Okay, gotta write that down, keep him straight.
So what's he saying they did?
He doesn't mince words, that's for sure. Straight up accuses them of misconduct. Specifically says they misuse city funds, state funds, even federal money, all meant for affordable housing.
Misused? How so? What does that even look like?
That's where the letters get a little, well, they're a little vague on the specifics. But he also mentioned something about deceptive practices connected to this Maryland Historical Trust homeowner tax credit. Okay, now you're speaking my language. I know a little something about taxes. Break it down for us. What is that tax credit, and why would it be bad if it was messed with?
So that tax credit, it's like a golden ticket for folks looking to fix up historic houses. It gives them a break on their taxes to help cover the renovation costs. Now, if HEBCAC cooked the books or misled people to get their hands on these credits,
Yeah.
that's a big no-no. We're talking major breach of trust, probably illegal too.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the feds do not mess around when it comes to tax fraud.
So, sounds like Nicholas isn't just going to sit back and let this happen. He's writing these letters, and he's aiming high. I mean, we're talking Congressman Elijah Cummings, Senator Ben Cardin, even the Attorney General's office, like as recently as May 8th of this year. Not to mention, going straight to the top, Governor Moore himself. That's bold. What's he asking for from these folks? What does he want to see happen?
He's not beating around the bush, that's for sure. He wants a full-blown investigation by the Attorney General, looking into HEBCAC, ESD 28, the whole 9 yards. And he's calling on the Baltimore Inspector General, saying, hey, somebody needs to audit this project's finances, top to bottom, see if any laws were broken, if money went where it shouldn't have. He wants accountability.
So, not just about punishing wrongdoing, he also wants to see things made right for the folks living in Station East.
Exactly. He's saying to Governor Moore, look, these people need a champion. They were promised safe, decent homes, and that's what they deserve. It's about justice, He wants to make sure they're not forgotten. This whole thing, it really gets at a bigger issue with these revitalization projects. Like, the money's often there, but is anyone watching how it's spent? Are there consequences when things go wrong?
Right, because it's those folks living in those homes, they're the ones who end up paying the price when the system fails them. And speaking of holding folks accountable, Nicholas, he mentions this Baltimore Sun investigative report in one of his letters. Seems like this might have already been on the radar of the local media. Anything you can tell us about that report and how it might shake things up?
So we haven't actually seen that specific report, but the fact that it exists, that's significant. It means this isn't just one guy complaining. This could be a bigger story, already getting some attention.
Yeah, nothing gets folks moving like a little bad press, right? But taking a step back for a sec, how often does this kind of stuff happen? Is Station East an isolated case, or are we looking at a more widespread problem here?
Honestly, more common than we'd like to think. We see similar stories playing out across the country. Crumbling buildings, accusations of financial shadiness. It's a whole thing.
So if it's not just a one-off, what kind of safeguards are in place to stop this from happening in the first place? Or what should be in place? Maybe that's the better question.
Well, you've got regulations, committees, oversight at every level of government. But
Yeah.
are they working? That's debatable. Sometimes it gets bogged down in bureaucracy. Sometimes they're short-staffed, underfunded. And sometimes there are just ways around the rules, loopholes,
And folks who are willing to exploit them.
unfortunately, yeah.
It's a mess, that's for sure. Leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Nicholas is doing what he can, but can one guy really make a difference? What are the chances we actually see some real change
A
here?
million-dollar question, right? All
Hmm.
we can do now is wait and see. How is Governor Moore going to react? The Attorney General, the Inspector General,
Hmm.
will they step up?
Well, one thing's for sure, Nicholas is making it hard for him to ignore him. He's putting him on the hot seat, that's for darn sure.
No doubt about it. And that's what's so powerful about this whole thing. It's a real David versus Goliath situation. This community standing up and saying, enough is enough. It's inspiring, honestly.
Really makes you think. One voice, one pen, a whole lot of determination. It can make a difference. So for folks listening at home, folks who may be seeing echoes of this in their own communities, what's the takeaway? What's a lesson Nicholas Miles' story has for all of us?
If I had to pick one thing, it's that Nicholas, he's using the system to fight the system.
Right.
He's not out there, resorting to violence, nothing like that. He's using his voice, his pen, his right to petition the government. The tools of democracy right there.
A good reminder that we all have a role to play, whether it's speaking out, contacting your representatives, supporting organizations doing good work. There are ways to make a difference. Well, this has been a deep dive indeed, a glimpse into a complex situation with honestly no easy answers. What happens next in Station East? Will justice prevail? We'll have to wait and see. For now, this is us signing off. But keep those questions in mind, keep an eye on this story, and most importantly, keep asking those tough questions.